sometimes we can take like things that are right before us for granted, right? Relationships, even the air we breathe. How about rain when you don't get it? We really appreciate those things. How about the beauty of this church in this particular way, this stained glass window? This really hit me. And I see in this a real reflection of what Jesus is talking about in a singular line in the gospel. He says, whoever loses his life for my name will gain his life. Whoever loses his life will gain his life. You probably know the story of the 4 people that lowered this paralytic before Jesus. There's so many people around Jesus, he's inside, and they so want this man to be healed. They literally go up on the roof, okay, and they lower him down. These 4 people lost their life for Jesus. How is that? Imagine getting on a roof, right? And a lot of the scholars say likely if they're easily able to remove the roof, it was likely a thatch roof, minimal structure. How about the loss of life? Potentially they could have fallen through, holding up this heavy body, right? How about people could have seen them as like, what are you doing, right? People in that point, maybe they were waiting a while for Jesus. And here's this guy who's getting let down right before him instantly. These 4 men letting Jesus down had to give up their lives of fear, of being ridiculed, of a lot of things, just because they had the faith in Jesus and his ability to heal. They lost their lives, these 4, in a sense, right? And Jesus calls us to lose our lives, lose the kind of things that are binding us. And fear is a great binder. What are people going to think about that? Right? We all do that to some degree. That itself we need to lose so we're willing to be holy fools for the Lord. These men had great confidence that if they brought this paralytic before Jesus, he would be healed. Jesus was doing a lot of healing. We're not sure where this paralytic came from. Was he a friend of these 4 men? We don't know. Bible doesn't say. The point is, there are a lot of people in Jesus' time that need healing, just like today. Who is that paralytic today? Lots of people that are dying not just for Jesus, but are dying without Jesus. All kinds of people are in that category today. But I wanted to focus on one particular group, young adults, and specifically those in college. They are losing their lives in a lot of ways. You know, when you get to college, it's a wonderful time, right? There's all new opportunities to learn and to grow and to kind of figure out what someone's life is going to be about, right? It's a great time, but it's also a very challenging time. Why? Because likely the supports that were there before, family, friends, parents, and so forth, that were guiding a particular young person, maybe aren't there anymore. So for young people, it's a blessing, but a great challenge. And unfortunately, a lot of young people start to die. They start to die. Who knows somebody that left the church that was raised Catholic? Raise your hands high so we can see. Okay, number of people. How about 5 or 2 or more? How about that? How about 5? Keep your hands. How about 10? What's the point? A lot of people have left. A lot of people raised in the church, and not marginally raised. We're raised in a healthy, good way. I'm one of 5 boys, right? I'm the second oldest. I was raised Catholic myself. My parents, mass, meals, prayer at night. I'm the only one who practices now. The only one. My mother just returned to the faith at 83. Unusual, right? 80% of the people that leave the Catholic Church for good do so by age 23. 80% of the people that were raised in the Catholic Church leave by the age of 23. That's a staggering statistic for me. It's a staggering statistic, and it comes from a Pew study that was done about 10 years ago. It's probably even worse now. The point is, a lot of people leave their faith at that particular time in those college years. Why? Because they're starting to think about new things, maybe new perspectives, maybe people and ideologies, all kinds of things are challenging the faith without any supports, without any counter understanding of the church. So this is really a difficult time. And a lot of students, unfortunately, become paralytics spiritually and in other ways. Focus missionaries are young people, not that much older than the students in high school. And what their effort is to be the men on the roof, right? With faith, knowing that Jesus is Lord and can heal and can bless one. They're the ones dying to self, getting out there on the battlefield and lowering people to Jesus, taking risks. Okay? That's really important. That's really what the whole church needs to be doing today, right? But in particular, these missionaries are doing this on a college campus. That is very critical. Let me give you a typical story of what focus missionaries come up against, okay? So there's this young woman named Megan. It's not her real name. And she's raised in a good family. Was popular in school, did well in her courses, and just had a really bright future. She gets to college and everything is fine for like a semester or so. And she's doing well in school and all kinds of things are going well. But her popularity that in high school was by itself enough. Now popularity in this university was more about partying, what you look like, all kinds of things that are inconsequential, but very, very powerful. Unfortunately, Megan, even with a good understanding and a good upraising in the Catholic faith, she was involved with youth group and all that, she starts to fall away. She starts to fall away. Yeah, sure, she goes to church once in a while, but God becomes less and less important. And after the end of her sophomore year, she starts embracing in the party culture, the hookup culture, all that. She wakes up one day in the morning. She doesn't know where she is or how she got there. And Megan knew she was going downhill, but when that hit, she was very afraid. Imagine that. You wake up and you don't know where you are, what you've done, how you got there. Megan prayed, maybe for the first time, really from the heart. She said, God, if you're there, please help me. Please help me. Well, God answered her prayers. The next day, she ran into someone that was a missionary, a focus missionary. Now, this missionary didn't announce that. She was just a person that showed attention to Megan, got to know her, took her out for coffee, could see that she was struggling, listened and loved her. Gradually, the relationship between Megan and this focus missionary, this unknown focus missionary, her name was Claire, gradually that developed. And over the course of a few months, that relationship got to the point where Megan could trust Claire enough to go to an event. It was a sporting event, right? They go together. Claire introduced Megan to a few people. Megan enjoyed it. Over time, Claire introduced Megan to things like faith sharing. Megan was like, what's faith sharing? Well, she got to know that Jesus was more than just someone to receive, right, at Sunday Mass, or somebody that's in the Bible at a distant time. She learned that people there on campus were actually believing that Jesus is real and personal and present to them. This blew her away. But despite her hesitation to enter into that, she met so many good peers, people that were really interested in who she was. not just what she looked like. They shared values, and Megan really liked that. She got swept up into that good culture as a result of the influence of Focus missionaries. She ended up, by the end of her junior year, rebounding, right? Her grades had fallen. Now she's rebounding in a lot of ways. She entered a sorority. She loses her life as well. You say, how's that? She was one of the people, in a way, that herself being on the mat, paralyzed, she ended up becoming one of those on the roof. And you say, how? She ended up forming a Bible study herself within the sorority. Sororities, for those of you that are in them or heard about them, they're not usually known for Bible studies, right? As good as they are, right? So she starts this, again, losing her life. What are people going to say about that? What are her peers going to say? Not a good idea. There's other stuff to do. They can go somewhere else. She feels there's such a need there that she starts slowly with the same approach that she learned from Focus missionaries. This basic strategy, 3 things: win, build, and send. Win is what Megan already experienced. People coming to know her in very natural and normal ways. Winning their hearts. Okay? Winning their hearts. 2, being built up. Megan experienced this as well. Gradually being drawn into events that she liked and she enjoyed. She had fun. And then she was getting drawn into things that were more explicitly spiritual. Okay? But it done in such a gradual, natural way that she almost didn't recognize it. She was like, oh, okay, I like this. Win, build, send. Megan herself, having received this gift, new relationships, she ends up being sent. And not just because of Claire, she wants to do it herself. She ends up, by the end of her senior year, having really brought the Lord to this sorority. She leaves. She had mentored another to continue this. And it's still in operation today. Megan was on the mat, paralyzed, right? Yeah, moving to such a degree, but really stunted at a certain point. Then she ended up becoming one to take risks and bring other people, lower them to Christ. This mission that Focus has is very beautiful, and it really tries to work against this culture of death that we're living in, where we're kind of like, at times, partially alive and partially dead. We don't even realize it, too, right? The point is, these missionaries, okay, usually 2 to 4 people, they are doing great work. They really are. And not just to draw people on campus. Many of these missionaries themselves go on to do wonderful things beyond that. 80% of the people raised in the faith leave by 23. How about this statistic? 80% of the people involved in Focus as missionaries, right, go on to live lifelong lives of faith. There was in 22 years since the organization started in Kansas, there's been, I think, like 1,300 vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Father Mark, the pastor here, he was a Focus missionary before he became a priest. He actually, this was in the bulletin, he credits Focus for him being a priest. And from what I gather, Father Mark is very well liked here, right? Okay? So it was Focus that actually drew him in, and not only did he become a missionary on campus, here he is a missionary as a priest, helping us to become missionaries. That is a wonderful mission. I'd like to introduce you into the mission itself, because all of us by our baptism are called to be missionary disciples. Well, we can do that in our families, of course, and that's the primary place, our primary relationships. But I'm going to invite you to consider being on the missionary team for Focus. How do you do that? Pray. Primarily, that's our responsibility, okay? Praying for an organization is the primary way good things happen. And we hope that all of you will do that. That would be wonderful, okay? Praying for the missionaries, for their training, for their safety, for their well-being. Praying for the people that they're going to meet, that their hearts be open, okay? That's the primary thing. The secondary thing is we want to help you to grow in the ability to do that evangelization in your own areas. There's pamphlets like this at the edge of your pews. Can we just pass those down? I want to highlight some information that's in there. So there's a lot to this simple pamphlet. It's got some great statistics on the back. So the missionaries, and by the way, we have a missionary with us. How beautiful is that? Shana, can you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Shana, I believe, was in this parish, right? Okay, so what a blessing to have the pastor and another parishioner here as missionaries. Shana was at Wichita State, okay? She herself received mentoring from Focus Missionaries, and she is here. Just finished her training, and she's going to be deployed to University of Nebraska, right? Right, one of the satellites, I forget which one. Okay? That missionary training is not without cost, okay? She has to, like all the other people, they have to fundraise for their own expenses, but there are additional costs. And for a fraction of the cost of your monthly phone bill, you can help to support a young person that's reaching out to others. That support could go for, events on campus, all kinds of things. The point is, your support spiritually and financially is really about you getting on the team as well. So we're going to have a moment right now just to quiet our hearts and to ask the Lord if He is putting on our heart to contribute to Focus. If you sense the Lord asking you to contribute, you can do that in a lot of ways. Check, cash, QR code. You can, whatever type of payment, there are options to do that. And we really could use your support, especially in the form of like a monthly gift. That would be really, really helpful. In many ways, God calls us to serve Him. God calls us ultimately to be people on the roof. I thank you for listening today. I thank you for your potential financial support and hopefully, definitely your spiritual support and prayer. If you did want to give us your prayer request, there's a section on here too. Focus Missionaries obviously have a heart for people that have left the church. That's what they're doing on campus. If you have any people like that, let us know who they are. Or if you want resources to help you to reach out to family members, the missionaries are experts at that. Okay, so if you give your email, we can help you with some resources, practical stuff to help you. Okay? Thank you once again. If you did want to contribute, we'll take those during the offertory. There's no second collection today, just for your info. And if you did want to give us those on the way out, myself and Shana will be at the exit, okay? God bless you, and thank you for listening. I know this is a little bit of a longer homily than you're probably getting, all right?